Welcome back, Mark. So we did an intro and we talked about some of the changes since we did the last set of videos. One of them is around quality of service, because we had proportional scheduling in the previous iteration. What's changed in that area?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, I mean, the from day one, the Tintri file system always provided a dynamic quality of service. So, not just the VM, but individual virtual disks inside each virtual machine get their own queue. So proportional scheduling was a dynamic way of us essentially giving a proportional fair share of resources to each and every virtual machine, with the goal that we'd eliminate the noisy neighbour situation. So very, very busy or hungry virtual machines wouldn't starve out latency sensitive virtual machines. So what's changed since those days is we've added the ability to bias specific workloads. So you can now go in on a per virtual machine basis and say, I want to assign a minimum level of IOPS performance and bandwidth, or you can actually set a threshold where you say that I'm going to attribute a maximum IOPS and throughput profile to a virtual machine. And with things like Tintri Global Center, you can create service groups. So go and find all my VMs that have SQL in the name, and for all those SQL VMs, I want to give a minimum guarantee of, say, 1,000 IOPS, for example. So for the VMs that you don't set or override that quality of service capability, they still default to the original behavior, which was that dynamic quality of service capability. So you can mix and match in the techniques on each platform.
What areas do you think that manual override needs to be done? Is that things like using test and dev type virtual machines?
I think it's an interesting question. I mean, most people will know what their mission critical applications are. So they'll know which virtual machines that they might want to provide some level of guarantee. I mean, if you're a cloud service provider and you've got customers signing up to a specific service level, you might want to use quality of service to create a bronze, silver, gold tier, which you can do. For me, one of the most interesting facts, and not specific to the test and dev environment that you raised there, but is whilst most people understand which VMs are important to their business, they won't necessarily understand which virtual machines are the resource hogs, or which virtual machines have gone rogue, if you will. And the great thing about the visibility aspect that Tintri provides is you can see which of those noisy neighbours, which of those virtual machines that are really trying to consume too many resources. And in previous implementations or other vendors' implementations, if you could even see that, which in general you can't, the likely outcome would be that you'd probably power that VM off or move it to a different data store. Yeah. The great thing with Tintri, of course, is we can just set a maximum IOPS profile for that virtual machine and slow it down. Now, what's interesting about our implementation is when you set quality of service on a per VM basis, you can actually look at the latency profile and understand exactly what's happening to that virtual machine in real time. So if you choose to slow down a virtual machine, you will see a value called throttle appear, where we're actually throttling back, we're slowing down that virtual machine, and you get real-time feedback in the additional latency that's been induced because you've decided to slow that virtual machine down. So it's an incredibly powerful capability.
That sounds really good. Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you.